I never hate my race, but until recently I didn't know history class was jacked completely. Found my new family with the team going free. My old family doesn't understand me, cause I am so pro-white. No coke, no Sprite, I am rolling with the public, gonna be more white. I saw them twist history right before my very eyes. Insurrection Day, it's in the book and it's all lies. But now I am alive and well to tell it. But will generations down the line be able to sell it? I've always been a thinker on the search for both sides, but they label me an outcast and they cannot tell me why. Guess I'm just a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. So I love my people. Why does affirmative action make them not hire me? Even in the countries where I'm the minority. Is my race just that awesome and no other could compete? Is that what the anti-whites are trying to tell me? Why am I always seen as such a threat? To the point they wanna strip me down till there's nothing left. Old friends from high school, man, I haven't kept one, but I got a new crew and it's where I belong. Cause if you ain't going free, you ain't rolling with me. And there are even anti-whites in my own family, but I am the one who's comfortable with myself. I try to save them from the hate so wildly raising hell. Cause I'm the black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. I heard that Scotland is too white, is Nigeria too black? Don't get your panties in a bunch, cause I have the right to ask. See, I'm the black sheep, cause I call it hypocrisy. And the media will give you emotions, but they will not give you honesty. Yeah, you have your feelings, but I have the crime rate. And I'ma shoot to kill if there's a danger my way. So I do not blame the cops, just the ones who are cowards, who hesitate to pull the trigger unless it is one of ours. Cause he's a black sheep, white boy who doesn't hesitate to make a lot of fucking noise. I'm the black sheep, white boy, and I wouldn't change a thing if I ever had the choice. Cause the red's the color I bleed. Yes, we all do bleed red. I have to protect my family. So I love my people to death.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless. progress, I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared. I walk a straight path, not many can say that. I like to play fast, cross me and there's payback. You better pray that I don't see your face at any place that I go. I know you hate that. I've been doing fine, I'm not wasting any more time. I live for the fight and the climb, and I think that the pain that's deep inside is what defines. So I won't give up, I'm gonna make it to the top. I don't care what's in my way, I swear I'm never gonna stop. I could fall flat on my face and I swear I will get back up, cause I don't deserve a thing and the road ahead is tough. They'll try to kick you while you're down, they wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt, they're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance to be ruthless.
And we are rolling in, going free the day after the midterm elections. And of course, they're still counting. What a shock that is. What a shock that they are still counting. What a shock that we're going to continue to find things out that aren't exactly copacetic. If you can hear me, let me know. If you can share the URL, if you are a swashbuckler and you want to kick the radio, you want to kick the stereo system over, you want to kick somebody's little iPad system over and take charge of the world loudly, proudly for white well-being, share the URL with your circles of influence. If you want to find someplace out there who might be live right now, maybe somebody could tell me where someplace might be live right now. And if you want to go over there and maybe give them a little love, swashbuckling style. And maybe like Zorro, you bust through the back door and you whip out the rapier, and you put WWB across the walls and people's chests and whatever it is, all in love. If you want to do that, then please feel inclined to do that. Let's see who has the biggest feather of a swashbuckler. What swashbuckler has the biggest feathers? We'll find out. White and Proud is with us. Great to see you. Check with CNN. Check with CNN. I'll have to. You mean I should check with CNN? Are they live? Because I will, if that's. Or is that our normal just claim to watch out for what CNN has to say? That's probably what that is. I see CBS. Caleb is with us. I know that Franklin and Caleb are swashbucklers with big feathers. So it's great to see them. Who else is here? I know the Promethean, formerly known as Promulgation. BFE, Big Feather Energy. BPE, Big Promethean Energy here in our swashbucklers. Well, we're going to talk about something that's really important. And I was just talking about it with the great Mark Collett and Laura, I guess Melia. And we want, I want to revisit. I want to talk about that a little bit more. I want to look at some of these results. I'll pull it up on the screen. We have the Senate that we could talk about. We have the House, and we have the gubernatorial races, and who is doing well and who is doing poorly. And what does this all mean? What's really going on in the world? And what does the U.S. midterms, what does the U.S. midterms mean, not only for white Americans, but also whites all around the world, Westmen all around the world? What does it mean for us? Matt's here. Standing Reserve is here. Waylon Smithers is here. Kingdom of Inland. Mike says, Jason's meme game is strong today. I tell you about the meme game. I have asked for folks to start making memes. They can be serious. They can be funny. They have to say nowhiteguilt.org along the bottom. You can put meme curatives on there. And if and when you do this, make sure you post them on your platforms. Maybe it's an Instagram, wherever, but I need to know where you're posting them. And I'll grab them and I'll share them. We need to spread these things around. We need to have fun doing what we're doing, especially now. Klomp is here. Great to see you. And yes, the Muslim Mehmet lost to the, how can we put this, to the deeply and severely handicapped Fetterman. Not making fun of the deeply and severely handicapped, but he is. You can't, when you can't form a sentence, the poor, ugly giant. You have the gentle giant, and then you have the ugly giant who's never worked a day in his life. And except when he was the mayor of a town in Pennsylvania, and we'll talk about this, and ran it into the ground, in my opinion. Of course, he should be a senator in the modern wastebasket known as the United States of America. A formerly great country still exists inside the hearts and breasts of every Westman on planet Earth. Think about that. That's where we are very different. One of the many ways that we're very different from so many others in service to white well-being. Machiavelli sucks. Montana Kid. Omega Bear is here. Our dear Carlisle Cockatoo is here. Sterling is here. We have up all of the normal. We have up Cash App. We have Entropy is running, and Odyssey is running. Their cryptocurrency is worthless. So if you give me anything in their library tokens, I don't know that it will constitute a financial gift. I will make sure, though, I get to it at least after the financial gifts, nonetheless. But while we're here, for the little bit of time we're here today, I'm going to take a look. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We're going to talk a little bit about this. And Tim is here. Great to see you. Let folks know so that I know we're going to be cozy. Sherry is here. I know it's going to be a cozy get together. We're like all sitting around on bean bags. I mean, we have enough bean bags for this number. But nonetheless, we're going to be sharing information that is the most important information you need to know so that you don't continue to muddle through life like a drunkard, wandering away from the club at the end of the night and then finding the biggest, most scary looking non-white person you can find and then asking them, can you take me home? Like so many young white women today, can you take me to my house? And then in the one case I'm specifically thinking about, I think it was in North Carolina, your raped and mangled body is found in a field in North Carolina. We're not going to do that. We don't want you like that. We want you to be a champion in service to white well-being. We want you to go free of the corruption in your subconscious mind that is called meme pathogens, anti-white ideas that are undermining you physically, spiritually, and mentally. We want you to align with the archetype of Western kind so that you can tap in to that vast reservoir of genius, bravery, industry, ingenuity, creativity, etc., that is within each of us. It is there for you to unlock. Like that treasure chest, you want to be that swashbuckler, that great swashbuckler. You want to be able to go to that treasure chest inside of you that the anti-whites have with their evil power of concepts and language. They have locked and you can't even find. And we have provided you with the key. You will open that, and the more you open it, the more of that power will come out and reach you like a great golden light, setting you afire with the glory of the West. So glad to have all of you here. Those that we have, please share. Looks like everything is up and running properly. So what happened? Why are we seeing here the U.S. midterms? People are voting. Are you really going to end up listening to the regime's media and the other content creators online that are busy telling you how it's no big deal, or it's this victory for the founding stock of America, but it's not as big as they had hoped, or some other sort of novelty take that gets you nowhere? You're going to be listening to that because you're going to be trapped in this same loop. Doesn't it seem this same, like you keep seeing the same scenery? You keep seeing, oh, look at, there it is again. Then you're like, well, what could happen? Let's hear some novelty takes over here, and let's listen to some predictions there and some ideas over here about how to take it back. Whoa, and it looks identical again. And then you're going back on the trip. This is nuts. The merry-go-round is nuts. What happens each time we come back around? Things get worse every time. You're going to have another young content creator tell you about how the Zoomers are going to do it. They're going to zoom in. The Zoomers. Here come the Zoomers. And then we find out, oh, they're actually voting more anti-white than ever before. The Zoomers are going to do it. And they say that as they're like playing with their toy trucks still. And they're like burning the Barbie dolls and things like this. The Zoomers are here. Yeah, they're here, all right. Anti-white, more anti-white than ever. More, and if you're one of those older folks out there, if you're one of these boomers that every new generation, like Gen Z is going to do it. Well, the Gen this and the Gen, and those Zoomers, now they're going to do it. Stop making excuses for your lazy old ass. Stop it. Get active. Make it happen. Stop being known as the generation that sat on the fucking toilet and shit this country away and shit the whole West away. The next generation, they're going to do it while you spend your money on your boomer cycles and your vacations galore, one after the other. Well, geez, honey, we got to find. And your new RV that stretches the length 3 cars of your driveway and it still sticks out in the fucking road. Sell that shit. Stop partying and give a shit about the future of the West. God damn it. Every goddamn vacation spot full of these goddamn fuckers. Everyone. Well, I think it's really going to be the Zoomers that do it this time. That's what I think. Let me tell you about my constipation problem, because everybody wants to hear about me since I'm a boomer. Everybody knows that all in the world, I'm the only one that's important. You know, the boomer generation is like the average female. It's like so solipsistic, so self-absorbed. There's like nothing else in the world. Some other generation's going to do it. Well, the Zoomers suck. They suck. That's what they're doing. Hardcore, on their knees before this anti-white demon. That's what the Zoomers are doing. And you know what? You can't tell whether they're male or female. That's the big difference. And they can't tell either. That's what's happened with the Zoomers. They're just like every generation before, anti-white and are wretched, except now we can't tell. Well, is that a boy Zoomer or a girl Zoomer? Or maybe we'll have to start calling them Zoomies, because that'll be like the neuter. It's a bunch of Zoomies out there. They don't know whether they're boy or girl, or whether they're attracted to fire hydrants or lawnmower. We know they're not terribly attracted to each other. So sick of it. So yeah, take another spin on the merry-go-round. Oh, Jason's fired. Oh, Jason's upset. Well, who wants to go over there and watch that guy over there that just gets angry about white people being victimized when you could stay over here and talk about murdering jaywalkers? Who would want to go over to that guy? Look how passionate he gets. By the way, check out this video of this painter. Let's talk more about how we steal everything from a whole race of people, because don't you know that's what the white race is all about? They're just sold like this. When you start talking to them about that, they're sold. Where do I sign up for that? Jason's fired up again. Well, I wake up, I start looking at these results, and what do I see? What do you see? Why isn't there? Forget the Republicans for a sec. Forget it them. They are losers. They're anti-white. They're losers. You saw some swashbuckling champions in the form of Franklin, Caleb, Clips, and yours truly engage these pieces of shit. And thank the good Lord that we know that Jeff Deal, this it's totally inappropriate to ask about white people Republican, spitting all over himself when a true swashbuckler sweeps into the room. That's how it's supposed to look. In the form of Clips, says it doesn't care about white people. How about, does anybody know if Suzanne Fox won the mayoral campaign, her mayoral campaign in Leesburg? Maybe we can find out about that. She should have lost too, since she couldn't say that if something is rabidly anti-white, that it's anti-white. She wouldn't call. She actually said it's anti-human. Or really, if it's anti-Jewish, what is it? It's anti-Semitic. If it's anti-black, what is it? Oh, it's anti-black. If it's anti-white, what is it? Oh, it's anti-human. I'm a Republican. Who cares about the Republicans for a moment, all right? We know they're losers. Why didn't everybody in the United States vote against the Democrats? Why didn't every single person in the United States? Because every single person is dealing with higher gasoline prices. Every single, in my opinion, dealing with higher diesel prices. They're dealing with higher prices across the board for goods and services, because those things in and of themselves have had pressures that have driven their prices up, which not the least of which is higher prices in petrol and diesel. Pollution galore. The ocean absolutely swelling with masks, covering up coral, covering up our pristine forests. All a consequence of Democrats. They're all anti-white, Republican and Democrat. But these are Democrats in office making this happen. Democrats in the FBI doing what they're doing. Democrats in the CIA doing what they're doing. Democrats in the CDC doing what they're doing. Everywhere it's Democrats. Forests ruined with pollution. Forests mowed down for millions and millions more coming from the Indian subcontinent and Africa and Central and South America. Who cares about the forests in North America and Canada? Mow that shit down for all of these folks that are going to come in to America and Canada to white erase the people who created those countries. Endless pollution. Borders are absolutely gone, done by the Democrats. Endless pollution by Democrats. Endless crime waves spiking everywhere. All of this, in my opinion, Democrats. Every aspect of your life getting ruined by Democrats. Why didn't every single person, and I'm not talking about abstractions, I'm not talking about what the media got out and has told them and has tried to belabor it, and really you should be afraid of the increasing crime rate. They didn't have to say that when you showed up at the subway and there was somebody dead from a stabbing, right? When you heard a shootout, right? When you hear more sirens around your house than you've ever heard in your life, right? They don't have to really propagandize you on the crime issue. They don't have to tell you, but they can, about things like cashless bail. And by the way, that bitch in New York, she is still the governor. She won. Hochul won. She defeated Zeldin hands down. What is driving people in Pennsylvania to vote for a deeply handicapped individual who can hardly string a sentence together? And when he does, it's usually wrong. It takes a lot of interpretation to find out what he's saying. And it takes a lot of self-loathing and lying to conclude that he said anything of intelligence. Who The only job he had in his life, this ugly giant, this hideous monster, this Uncle King Fester is what this guy is, was the mayor of a little town that he was already ruined and was at the bottom. And you know the old saying that when you're at the bottom, you can only go up. If he didn't prove that wrong, if this goddamn Uncle Fester didn't prove that wrong, Uncle Fetterman, he proved that saying wrong. When you're at the bottom, oh, you can still dig down. You could definitely dig down. Maybe like Nancy Pelosi, you can dig down to China, and there's a connection there. Maybe that's what you can do. You can just dig on down because he ruined the town. The town, which used to be thriving like many Pennsylvania towns. And ask yourself about the voters in the Pennsylvania towns. The town, which used to be thriving because there was industry there, the anti-white Democrats came along and said, oh no, we're not going to have industry here because we're going to victimize white people. All these jobs full of white people. Yeah, there are some non-whites, but it's mostly white people that will hurt. So we'll move this shit out of the country. And that's what they did. And now all these white people on drugs, below the poverty rate, no job. Uncle Fetterman shows up. Uncle Fester, Uncle Fetterman, I love it. Shows up. And he's like, so we need a meme for that with nowhiteguilt.org across the bottom, swashbucklers, and then be the swashbuckling champ and put it everywhere. He shows up, and then he implements a policy in this town that will require every new business to abide by the most stringent UN guidelines on the environment on planet Earth, which would mean thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars that they would have to spend on top of everything they got to do to start a business, paperwork and etc. There can be no small businesses started there. Goddamn Walmart wouldn't start anything there, even just for the fun of it, for the cost that has been engendered by Uncle Fetterman. Do you think you start off by saying the good night? Okay. That's not ridicule, or maybe it is. Okay. That's just my reenactment of Uncle Fetterman starting his debate with the Muslim Oz. The Muslim Oz. That's what he should have been called all along. The question stands. Uncle Festerman. Yeah. That's funny. DL says solidarity from England. Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Let everybody else know over in the once great UK. The question stands. How do we get to a place like this? How do we get to a place, just for example, we'll look at, just mention maybe 3 races here. Uncle Festerman in PA, who is deeply handicapped, and the only job he's ever had in his 40-some years of life is the mayor of a town that he further ruined, that nobody thought could get worse. New York, you have Hochul, who is the absolute, she breeds crime. And I don't just mean that was the title of the porno she was in, but she breeds crime like there's no tomorrow. People are getting bludgeoned, robbed, shootouts in New York, my opinion. What would cause people to vote for more of that? What would cause people to vote for a Festerman? And how about out there in Arizona, for example, when I did not want Carrie Lake to win because she was anti-white and she didn't win. But Hobbs is a breeder of immigrants, and that also might not, it's not only the title of the porno movie she starred in, but it's what she does to the people of Arizona. She wants to pull down every little thing that Arizona has put up. These shipping containers, She wants to take it all away. She wants more of the problems. And the people of Arizona went out and voted for more of that. These are in your face, life altering, life upsetting, life undermining realities for America. And we have people going out and voting for that. What's going on? Well, what's going on is our modern anti-whiteism, secular religion. We spoke a little bit about this in the show earlier today. This is why I gave up on politics a long time ago. You remember, some of you, I worked on the Hill in the nerve center. I'm not saying that flippantly. In the nerve center of the conservative movement, all of the heads of the largest conservative groups in the country came every Wednesday for an off the record in this underground meeting room that I'm sure if the anti-whites ever wanted to make a movie out of that, they would make it like this James Bond villain-esque layer underneath of this building in DC. All the way back then in politics, all the way up to the present, and before then, obviously, same sort of thing. We are confronted with a victimizer in the anti-white oligarchs and the anti-white ideology, which functions as a religion. We are confronted with what amounts to a spiritual force in the hearts of these sick and diseased POSs, every single one of them. Only in a faith-based scenario can you look at objectively what has happened over the course of your life by pursuing a strategy and see how everything by every index has gotten worse in your life and continue to hold that course only by faith. There is no evidence whatsoever. So, crime going through the roof, we need more anti-whiteism. White erasure, every neighborhood around, every workforce, every university, we need more anti-whiteism. That's the only way it's going to get better. Skyrocketing prices on essential goods and services, we need more anti-whiteism. It's the only way it's going to get better. These are sick, demented, garbage human beings. And we need to be able to come to those who are able to be rescued from that. And that is what the Go Free method is all about. We have to be there with this Go Free method, the psychological defense for the psychological warfare, anti-whiteism, that's waged against us. We cannot be in this community observers of doom, which you see elsewhere and is very profitable to thought leaders and organization leaders. We cannot be dissectors of doom. We cannot be divinators of doom. We have to address the problem, and we have to address it first in ourselves, because we are all, whether you like it or not, possessed by the devil. But this is not Christianity's devil. No, this is a very living, tangible devil. We are all possessed by it. It's in our subconscious mind. It is the meme pathogens that are there and tell you it is immoral to object to and undermine anti-whiteism, and that it is moral to white erase, that it is moral to undermine, that it is moral to victimize the white race. Even if consciously you can say, I know that's immoral. I aver that it's immoral. I hold it as apodictic that it is immoral to victimize white people. You live your life in your subconscious mind. 90+% of the time, that's where you are. And in that mind, if you have not addressed the anti-white morality, these meme pathogens that you are infected with, you never will be free of them. You will always be infected with this devil, the anti-white devil. You will always be infected with it. And that, my friends, is what has motivated people. This should have been, the voting results should have been something like 80-20. 80% of people voting against Democrats. 20% of people so unbelievably out of their minds. They would have been institutionalized, but since the two big deinstitutionalization movements, they're on the streets without their meds and they're looking for you. That's what should have happened. This is not going to change. This isn't going to get better by way of politics. This isn't going to get better by being an abstractionist in Con Inc. or anywhere else. It isn't going to be better by being an isolationist. You are not going to be able to hide from this. Take a look at what just happened in these midterms. You have got to address the demon in the house, the demon in yourself, this anti-white demon, the ideology of anti-whiteism. So let's take a look at, and I'm going to take a look at what you all are saying. As well, make sure you tag me as No White Guilt in the live chat. Let me pull this up. Senate election results, and we'll just look at it together for a moment and see. Can you all see that? Actually, maybe I better do that. I apologize, but you know how they are on me. I found out last night that you can live stream if you're like a crowder with a firearm on the stream, when that is prohibited by the rules at YouTube. So fascinating. Fascinating. Let's have a look at what this says. 2022 Senate election results, latest results as of 1 minute ago. Bloomberg News is reporting live election results for U.S. Senate races. Balance of power in the Senate currently is split. 50 Republicans and 50 senators who caucus with Democrats. 35 Senate seats are up for election, including a special election in Oklahoma to fill a vacant seat. The Cook Political Report has rated 4 races as a toss-up. Oh, I wonder if votes are going to be found. I wonder if votes are going to be found. And then when they're found and a Democrat wins, you better not look squinty-eyed at any irregularity there. The whole Democrat Party, a primary position about the Democrat Party is that Republicans steal every election. Remember, I'm not talking, don't get dichotomatic on me, if I can neoterize a word. I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. The Democrat Party, a part of the platform is that every election is stolen by Republicans because they are preventing non-white people from being able to make it to the polls or go to the polls on time or all of these sorts of things. They can go on, as you know, and saying that Trump with Russia stole the election, even though all of that has been proven false now, still saying it. But the Democrats will send you to prison if you shed any light, any question whatsoever, squinty-eyed at all, big sister-like, watching you with the cameras, gonna hunt your ass down. You are not allowed to question anything that hardcore mafia thieves are up to. Nothing. They'll send Guido over to your place. Have a look at your thumbs. Have a look at your thumbs and see how easily you can work when both thumbs are broken. So let's just keep an eye open for that. And then what are you going to do? This time, if it ends up not being Democrats, you're going to wait until next time when it's all Democrats. You're going to wait until there's a live report on MSNBC, just like we had when the anti-white terror shock troops, terrorists, were burning down cities, my opinion. And the reporters are standing there. It happened on several news outlets and reports. And they're actually standing in front of burning cars and people running back and forth in the darkness with hammers and firearms and machetes and stolen television sets and rape victims thrown over their shoulders. And the reporter's like, things are largely peaceful here today, Bruce. You're going to wait until they're saying, they're standing there with a microphone in front of the camera and they're saying, it's a crazy thing to think that there's any irregularities. And then you see in the background, people have like giant tubs and they're pulling up. They're pulling up in like Winnebagos and they're pulling out and they're filling them out there on the spot and they're putting them in. How many more we need? It's crazy that anybody would look upon this and say that there's any irregularities. And just spoken with the chief of police, and he assured me that everybody who doubts the results of this election will be hunted down and nailed to a cross in their hometown. How many more we need? Just fill in the Biden section. Oh, I'm sorry. He wasn't on the ballots this time, right? So let's go here. It says Senate races to what? Fetterman. Maybe you can say it in Pennsylvania. Uncle Festerman. He is, and then here's the other thing. Con Inc. and all of these others in the so-called like resistance, the resistance to the anti-whiteism, whether they want to call it that or not, the resistance, they're like half loving that Fetterman won. They're half loving it. I'm not saying I want the Muslims or whatever you want to call him to win. I didn't even follow him. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Don't get dichotomatic on me. I'm talking about an outcome here that these folks are going to celebrate because they're going to have some good lulls. He's going to be a lull cow. That guy's going to be a lull cow. We're going to have some fun. And then these content creators are like, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money because I'm going to have some good lull cows off of this guy. Such a big, look at his udders. Look at this lull cow's udders. That's what they're thinking. They might not actually say that to you. They're loving it, though, because they're going to sell all kind of merch. They got merch for you and their giant audience. You know, Crowder, you know that guy with a giant audience because it's the only big thing on him. The giant audience. He's going to sell merch to, make himself a pretty penny. He's going to be very happy about all his merch. Festerman merch, which he'll get from me, and then he'll just go do and make millions off of it by selling it to all the retarduses that are in his audience that want nothing more to do than sit around on their fat asses and be entertained by this twit that has nothing of value to tell his audience. Except some good lulls, some really good lulls for them. Fetterman has one, Uncle Festerman. And then what do we have? Where's another? Well, we got Mark Kelly in Arizona, beat the shit out of Blake Masters. I mean, stomped him into the ground. Now, I reached out to Blake Masters and I said, you got to say anti-white. You got to talk about anti-whiteism. He didn't do that, did he? He didn't do that. No, Jason, listen. He's going to do the traditional Republican. He's going to make sure that he's a rebel Republican. He's going to be a tiny bit edgy, a tiny bit more edgy. The Overton window. He's the Overton window. That's what we're going to be. It's just going to be a tiny bit to the window that the anti-whites get to decide where it is. Good for you all. He's going to be just a tiny bit, to the right of the Overton window and the sewing circle. He's going to get the sewing circle and he's going to win. You just watch, Jason. I had people tell me, you just watch. It's a MAGA Republican that's going to win. Oh, he had his nuts split off the side of his face. That's how bad he lost. That's what I'm looking at here. 46-51. Share the good work that we're doing here. Grab these streams in total and put them up on your platform. Put them up somewhere in total and put them up elsewhere, because the anti-whites are a bunch of censorial mothers, because they don't have an argument. They lost the argument of morality. They lost the argument of fairness. They all lost the argument of logics. They've lost the argument everywhere you look. And that is what anti-whiteism, therefore, is all about. They've got to silence you, because if folks hear what I have to say, then it's not going to be as easy for the anti-whites to control what those people do and think. And so that's it. They have to intervene. Shut it down. So you got the big Blake Masters. Let's see where that ends up. Let's see where that ends up going. Then you got Georgia, of course, which is now going to go to a runoff. And what about Nevada? Was that the Republican? Not called yet? So here we have a scenario. Where Republicans, who really should have walked away with this, they really should have walked away, didn't have a chance. But they're going to be celebrating what? They're going to be celebrating the success of getting more Hispanic voters. That's what this is going to come down to. They're going to be talking ad nauseum, as they do after these elections, about this. Is Con Inc. is going to be talking about this, Republican Party, about how wonderful it is that the Republican Party is becoming more Hispanic. And as the Republican Party becomes more Hispanic, you're going to end up seeing the platform change to represent the biospiritual nature and values of Hispanics. And if you want to know what that is, you can go ahead and look to Central and South America. They're not very keen on, generally speaking, in my opinion, on things like freedom of speech, right to self-defense. As a whole, as a voting bloc in the Republican Party, that means the platform will change. White people have been given no more than deceptive dog whistling for the totality of our lives, parents, grandparents' lives. But now you won't even get that. Now they won't give a shit. It's, well, white people who are going to vote Republican, guess you better align yourself with this Hispanic influx into the Republican Party. Guess you better align yourself with their values. Guess you better align yourself with their norms. Guess you better align yourself with their biospiritual projection. Because if you don't, you're not even going to get deceptive dog whistling. What more do we have here? Oh, of course, we'll jump on over. So that's where we are now. We got a probable victory here in Alaska, or I should say a probable defeat in Alaska and Nevada for the Democrats. Look at Hawaii, for the love of God. They should just take the all voting away from Hawaii. I mean, how in God's name? No, you still get to be possessed by the U.S., but you don't get to vote anymore. Shut the fuck up. And this, Democrats would never allow this. They are, folks. You gotta understand how rigged this game is. You gotta understand how rigged this is, because every day in D.C., which is this way, not far. I'm right across the Potomac from Mordor. Every day, they sit down, Republicans and Democrats, anti-whites galore. They sit down and they say, a bunch of writhing snakes, like a serpent mating ball. And they sit down and they say, how can we redistrict every district across the country? Just force it on people so that white people's interests cannot be served, even in a deceptive dog whistle. How can we have you seen the districts in states? You don't have if you would imagine a state is a perfect square, you don't have like cubes for districts. No, you have like these sort of like cancerous skin melanoma running through each other and over each other to ensure that white people lose. It's all district to ensure that white people lose. And that's how you have to talk about it. Don't say it's district and redistrict so that non-white people get. No, all that matters to us is that we're victimized. It's all district and redistrict so that white people lose. The day is rapidly approaching, even though they don't even need it anymore, because they just have the overwhelming majority of seats held by anti-whites or anti-white Republicans who are very willing to use the tools that lose. I mean, maybe you'll end up with a maverick one day. So they continue meddling. They continue redistricting until, as I say, you have these melanomas, these like spread growths all over the place to make sure that white people have no representation. And ladies and gentlemen, I am going to say as loud as I can till the day I die, white people in the United States and in the rest of the West, but definitely in these United States where I know the system better than elsewhere, have no representation in government. There is zero representation in government for the white race. Zero. Shout it from your rooftops. We seceded from the crown because we didn't have representation. The South seceded because we didn't have enough representation and just kept having shit forced upon us, kept forcing us to pay for everything at the federal level. The white race in America has zero representation. There is nothing that you care about as a white person that a single person in office not only won't put forth legislation, but won't even speak to. It doesn't matter how anti-white it is. They won't even speak to it. They don't give a shit about you and your family, and our people, in our history, in our creation, in our inheritance. They don't give a shit about any of it. You have zero representation. Get that through your heads. Stop supporting these idiots, even these rebel MAGA Republicans. Do not support anybody that is not going to represent the white race. They can represent their other constituencies too. But if you're white, no support for anybody who's not going to support the white race. We have zero representation. What else is going on? Let's take a look at before we get out of here, I'll take a look at what you all are saying as well. The House, of course, looks like it's potentially Republicans are going to move into a healthier position. Let's take a look at the gubernatorial race. Ecce, I don't know how you're getting this wrong. If you were just watching PWR, if you ever watch PWR, I will specify a race for the purpose of explaining how we are being victimized. Like I'll talk about Hispanics taking over the Republican Party. I don't hate Hispanics. I'm not going to focus on all of the ills or the warts of Hispanic people. Do you understand that? I'm not going to set up a question of Hispanics, for example, or any other race of people and present people with this is all the power they wield and everything is wrong because of them, to create a scenario where the only remedy is murdering another group of people and stealing everything that they have earned rightfully or earned illegally. Why are you quibbling over whether you hate on a race? Hating on a race and mentioning another race of people are two totally different things. And you damn well know that's the case. So stop playing dumb. Look, Ecce Lux is a name them advocate. Ecce Lux is talk about jaywalkers, talk about their power, talk about their wealth, talk about how they take care of each other, talk about how they scratch each other's backs all day long. That is the advocacy. Now, that is not an advocacy, Ecce, for white well-being. That is not an advocacy for the good of white people. Murdering jaywalkers, stealing everything that they have rightfully earned or stolen from them as an outcome is not good for white people. That is not good for white people. Now, don't move the goalposts now on me and start saying, well, that's not what I mean. You are intentionally misrepresenting my position and the Go Free Method's position of focusing hatred on another group of people and being a villain in their story with merely mentioning any other race of people. And that's extremely disingenuous of you. Talk about not being intellectually honest in a conversation. That is extremely disingenuous to say, well, he doesn't want us hating on another race. But look at, he mentioned another race. Therefore, he's hypocritical. Give me a fucking break. What is wrong with you people? You can't think past 5 miles an hour. You want to show up on me and tell me when clearly that's not the case. Clearly it's a misrepresentation. You want to show up on me and say, oh, he's being hypocritical because he mentioned somebody else. He mentioned somebody else. And mentioning somebody else is the exact same as day and day, night, day after day, night after night, month after month, year after year, talking about how this other group has power, focused entirely on them, naming yourself after the villains in their story. Oh, that's the fucking same, isn't it? Just a fucking dumbass. Everybody who has this name them strategy is either hardcore working for the anti-whites or a fucking retard. I have made arguments, and you either speak to those arguments in an intellectually honest way or fuck yourself to hell. You got it? These people don't have the interest of putting it into the victimization of whites in their hearts. In their hearts is nothing but wanting to harm Jews. And that's disgusting. I can look last night on Jason Goes Political. And a big reason why not enough people are interested in that, I had to mothball it, is because of folks like this who want to go out and misrepresent, who want to go out and say, look, the only thing that can be done is naming them or being one of these absolute retarduses for the Republican Party. That's all that can be done. Nothing else is done. Oh, there's a guy over there making arguments. Oh, yeah, well, he's obviously a jaywalker, a pedophile, a rapist, whatever. That's all you guys got. Hiding your fucking faces all day long. Nobody identifying themselves. A big reason why we can't get enough people, because there aren't anybody intellectually honest. Nobody want to evaluate what they're doing wrong. Nobody want to evaluate the endless losses. Look at these midterms. Once it gets bad enough, as it's going bad, they're voting for more of that shit. But keep making your arguments that speak not at all to everything that I've said, to the arguments that I've made, that speak not at all. Last night on Jason Goes Political, we pulled up Benny's channel, and I was able to make fun of him. I was able to make fun of that panel. I was able to talk about how this other group of people have essentially situated for Con Inc., have situated themselves as the resistance representative of founding stock America. That is not me naming them. You have to be smarter than a dumb fuck. And if you can't be, then shut your mouth and fall in line behind somebody who obviously knows what he's doing because of the successes. Endless spears from anonymity. Endless. You don't got it right. Let me tell you how to start. Oh, we're going to start an island. We're going to start our own island. Endless spears from somebody. We can't contend with other groups of people out there that have investors that come in and that have all this kind of shit. We can't contend with them. Not because we're not able to, but because we are undermined by people who don't actually care about Western kind and putting it into the victimization. They just use that as a lying pretext to make arguments in favor of murdering Jewish people. That's all. And everybody making that argument, these people who care, this is what needs to be talked about. You take this corrective that is totally inappropriate and a demonstration of the rankest midwittery. You got to talk about it, to apply it to this situation relative to other groups of mankind. Totally inappropriate, totally out of place. That you got to talk about it. Totally inappropriate, totally self-destructive, and also not serving the objective of putting it into the victimization of white people. We're going to take that corrective and use it here in the white sympathetic sphere before it's too late. We're going to have that conversation. We're going to have that conversation about the difference between those who want to murder Jewish people and those who want to put an end to the victimization of white people. Those are two different camps. And this Kanye thing, this Ye thing, has really outed those in the white sympathetic sphere who want to murder Jewish people, as opposed to those who want to put an end to the victimization of whites. And I say the first thing we have to do, if we're going to get healthy here, is run that trash out of our sphere. Let's let it be known that that is what they are all about. When the ADL or any of these other rabidly anti-white organizations, your clock's right twice a day, when they say that these people want to hurt Jews, they're right. They do. They only mention the white race as a reason to hurt Jews. I am so sick of hearing about them. This has really outed the scum in the white sympathetic sphere. And that has nothing to do with, as I've said many times before, it has nothing to do with and takes nothing away from noticing who actually holds power and what companies and what places and who works together and what those people, that has nothing to do with that whatsoever. It takes nothing away from that. It puts no blinders on that. You have to be able to identify when you can make a difference and in what context you can make that difference. If you are king of America, then you can say which groups of humanity are running what, and are they working together in my kingdom? And is it harmful to my king? Is it aggrieving me? And then you can decide, well, I think I will lower their percentage of participation in this area or that area. Then and only then is that something you should contemplate. But that ain't going to happen. No, you're going to get on your fucking metro rail to get from point A to point B because you don't even have a fucking car anymore. Because your car done broke down. And as a white male, you can't get a new one. You can't afford a new one. You can't even lease a new one. So you're going to get on your fucking tricycle. Bring, bring. You're going to pedal your ass everywhere you go. And you're going to remedy it by saying, you know what? Bring. We gotta name them. We got to talk about them because we can't correct this problem. You can't do shit. You can't even get laid. Fuck, I'm sick of these people. Look at these results. It should have been 80% defeat for the Democrats. Not because people like Republicans. Defeat for the Democrats. Sick and tired of this shit. Everybody, and then the others. And this is the most disgusting thing ever. This people in the white sympathetic sphere who call black people by the most disgusting names that you can imagine. Mock them, talk all about from the Yale attendees all the way down to folks in the gutter. And they're going through all the data. Look at the rapes. Look at the robberies. Look at he hates Jews too? Where do I get on my knees to give him head? That's how vulgar and disgusting you are. You have zero character. You have no dignity whatsoever. Worshipping this black rapper that hates white people, that called in the very interviews where you all are celebrating him for hating Jews. You loving on him for hating Jews. Day before, you were talking about the zoo. The next day, you're like, this guy's the greatest one. He's actually kind of a genius. I think he's kind of a genius. Scum. The very next day, you're loving this guy. You want to get on your knees. That same interview where you guys are celebrating him, both these interviews, he spoke negatively about white people. He called that Arnault guy, a white guy, colonizer. Called him a colonizer. Does that sound like a friend of the white race? And then they march with their twisted banners like geese with broken legs and casts on all the way over to where they can, well, I guess they can't kneel down. They're going to have to flop down on their side in front of him. Colonizer. And then you say, oh, but we're doing this for the white race. We're doing this for the white race. Well, I'm sick of, let me give you an angry history lesson about World War II. Let me tell you what they did in World War II. And then we're going to hang big red banners, and then we're going to go, oh, and we're going to shout in the background. Yeah, this is what it's done. Can you all not see controlled opposition when it's in front of your fucking faces? More. Let's bring in more of this hatred and wanting to harm Jewish people. Let's bring more of that in. Defend that. Defend against that. Tell me it ain't so. Tell me how you remedy. You can't. Because I've asked hundreds of times. I've asked the brightest who make this claim about the name them. Name them. That's what you got to do. You got to look crazy as shit to all your family. And then that fucking loser that I was just having arguments, one loser after the other. One loser after the other. I said, go ahead. Let's get your videos of you naming them to your boss, the city council, and your student and your child's principal at school. Let's get you doing that on video. Well, I'm not going to do that. No shit. You're just going to go around telling the people that I've convinced not to name them anymore because they should be loving us rather than hating them. And you're going to go around to them and convince them to continue naming them. That means you are the lowest form of life. You are swine. You are absolute swine. So there, we have to draw a big divide in the white sympathetic sphere. There are those in the white sympathetic sphere who want to put an end to the victimization of white people, and there are those in the white sympathetic sphere who want to murder Jews. Which are you? God, I've decades, 2 decades of dealing with you absolute dipshit backward retards. Well, Jason, you shouldn't really, you shouldn't really say negative things about, you shouldn't really insult people, in the white sympathetic sphere. Look, all that. You can't make an argument to overcome the arguments I've made as a corrective feedback loop. And you want to stick with something that harms, and you want to promulgate that to each new crop of good white people. We just had Lacey in the live chat talking about new to all this. Over on Gab, I'm hit all day long with hate Jews. Each new crop. You run off the good people. You run off the good people who show up. People who want to, with their heart and with their love and connectivity and maybe money, you run them off because no shit. They don't want to be a part of murdering a whole race of people. You run them off. Shut your goddamn mouths. And if you don't run them off, you turn them into self-destructive, self-loathing, white race destroying machines as the villain in somebody else's tale. You become what the anti-white narrative tells everybody in fiction about what white people do when they care about whites, what white people want when they care about whites. You make them into that for real. And fuck every one of you off for doing that. We would have, by this date already, millions who would be agreeing with us. Millions. But we don't have millions. Because when they show up, like Lacey's showing up, it's endless hate on the Jews. Name the Jews. You know you're a shiksa. Call yourself a shiksa. No, you are a brain damaged, and you need to be further brain damaged. I'm sick of losing. I am sick of watching my once great Western civilization in my lifetime going down the toilet in a way that cannot be retrieved. And not as a consequence of a superior victimizer. Their strength, their intelligence, their wealth is whatever it is. We'll never know whether we could match them with numbers as well as the Go Free method that has demonstrated that it works. We're never going to know because of this absolute human waste in the white sympathetic sphere that is like this effluvium, like from the goddamn cess plant, from the water treatment plant, this effluvium that is the moment you show up, no matter how pristine and beautiful your love for our people, no matter how angry you are about our victimization, no matter how much you're willing to put yourself on the line for glory of yourself and our people and the end of our victimization, no matter how wonderful, it wraps you up. It wraps you up in this fetid, mephitic stench of name them. No, you just got to talk about them all the time. They want to take lasers and they want to put up these symbols of a bygone era that historically can mean whatever they actually mean. In your research, they can mean whatever they actually mean. But in today's application to our brothers and sisters, they have a meaning that is totally demonic. Totally demonic. And you want to associate that with me? With good people showing up to the white sympathetic sphere? No good people are going to stick with that. Sneaking images in. I even on this channel with Jared George in the beginning, we specifically said to people, do not try to sneak in any imagery. Do not try to sneak in any imagery from World War II or some other era that people today know to be the absolute imagery of evil. Do not sneak it in. As a man, we're asking you. As Westmen, we're asking you to be honest. And you know what? These motherfuckers snuck shit in. You fucking swine. And then we go years later, finding shit snuck in. 100th of a second there, 10th of a second here. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cute to do that. It's so cute to be edgy and have a humor level that is potty humor at the level of elementary students. That's so cute. Show another meme of a white person riding down a non-white person with a horse. Show another meme of that. So that we can have this in the midterms. Look at these victories. Look at these victories. Democrats should have been absolutely obliterated. This is what I said about the getting worse crowd. They're all wrong. You want to know what getting worse does? Look to our once great country of South Africa and Rhodesia. If you do not implement the Go Free method, which is the defense against the psychological warfare, anti-whiteism, which is waged against us, if you do not implement that, worse is just worse. It won't change. It doesn't get better. We were just talking pre-show that the voters in the UK are going to be voting worse. And it's all because of anti-whiteism. The psychological warfare, anti-whiteism, functions as a religion. I've been saying it for decades. I've been stonewalled and blackballed because I wouldn't go along with error, because I chose to speak truth to the power in the white sympathetic sphere, which we always find out after the fact. See, organizations fall here, not every single time, but often we find out organization falls and we find out, oh, really, that was being funded by anti-whites? What a surprise. And you have all of these little brainwashed minions who will adopt this shit, this garbage, and then come to me one after the other, dedicate their accounts to attacking me. and tolerate it when others are doing it. Tolerate it when others are doing it. This should have been a complete rout of the Democrats, not a victory for Republicans, but a rout of the Democrats because of how bad it's gotten. And it's going to get worse. And you know when they'll start voting Republican? When Republican is as openly anti-white as Democrat. That's when the vote will begin to shift back the other direction. That is when the Republican Party's platform represents the biospirit of Hispanics, more of them will vote. And when it comes to biospirits, as I've said many times before, no one biospirit is better than any other. There is no cosmic measuring stick. The animal, the creature that projects its biospirit into the world wants to see it in the world, so they harmonize with it. I don't harmonize with the biospirits of other races. I feel uncomfortable. They feel uncomfortable in the expression of my biospirit in their world. That's why they remake our environments to reflect them. This is why multiracialism doesn't work ever in the history of the world, in my opinion. So I don't have to, and do not even dislike a whole group of humanity to say I don't want their biospirit dominating and ruling over my world. I'm not going to focus on them and all the ways that their biospirit is objectionable to me. My advocacy is not going to be this endless observance of everything that they do or have ever done or could ever do. I need only to say, I love them and I want them to be what they're going to be. And I want my biospirit to reign supreme, to reign in charge in the countries that my people have made. I want safety and harmony for my people. I want an end to the victimization of my people. I don't have to hate on anybody else. In fact, I'm wasting my time to look at where they're good and where they're bad by the standards of my society, by the standard of what I and my people project. If I wanted to live in the biospirit, the culture, that's what it is. Culture is the aggregate of a people's biospiritual projection onto their environment. If I wanted to live in a Hispanic one, I would have moved to a Hispanic country. I do not want my world transformed to be something other than my biospirit. And that is a moral thing to say. That is a moral position to take. And if we are going to recapture our destiny, we are all going to have to take it. Should have been a rout. I'm going to take a look at this. DeSantis, maybe. Here you have the Philadelphia Inquirer. John Fetterman wins Senate race, and Josh Shapiro elected a guy who is hardcore, in my opinion, hardcore criminal. Hardcore. So Shapiro gets to be governor as Democrats take both statewide races. There used to be a lot of joking in America about New Jersey being dirty and corrupt. Pennsylvania has taken that title. Chicago, dirty and corrupt. Pennsylvania took the title. Sorry to my good fellow folks out there in Pennsylvania, good Pennsylvanians out there. I'm sorry. Look at your neighbors. Voters have chosen Pennsylvania's next governor and a new U.S. senator to represent the Commonwealth. Maybe we can refer to it moving forward, since we have Uncle Festerman, as the common poverty rather than a commonwealth. They have been chosen to represent the common poverty. of Pennsylvania. What you should know. Follow continuing election. Democrat Josh Shapiro defeated Republican Mastriano in the race for Pennsylvania governor. Oh, wait a second. I thought, no, was Jason right again? Did I say that Christian nationalism wasn't going to do it? Oh, Jason was right again. I guess this whole idea of Christian nationalism is failing once again. I don't know how many times this has to fail for people to finally give up on it, but it failed again. Mastriano loses up there in Pennsylvania. The common poverty of Pennsylvania. Festerman won a closely watched race against Republican celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz. His victory could help determine control of the U.S. Senate. You hear that, Pennsylvania? Well done. Well done, Pennsylvania. Well done. Because what we really need is rabid anti-white Democrat policies rammed through the whole of the country so that every place can have these immigrant centers right down the road, so that where women are being, where the stories are, I've heard, I'm probably wrong though, because I don't know if CNN is reporting it, but the rapes and the murders and all of this sort of thing, and the things that this is normal from where I came from. Is it wrong here? Yeah, you can't gang rape children here. Yeah, that's problematic, but it won't be. Voters in Pennsylvania said the pain of inflation helped drive their choices. The pain of inflation drive their choice to go vote for Democrats. See, this is the kind of garbage you're going to get. Yep, the ugly giant, the deeply handicapped giant, Uncle Festerman, in the common poverty of Pennsylvania. Democrats won both statewide races in Pennsylvania, consequential and closely contested elections on Tuesday. Josh Shapiro, you better like my anti-white policies or the police won't protect you anymore. Shapiro won his bid for governor after pledging to fend off Republican extremists who he said threatened to roll back rights for voting, gay marriage, and access to abortion. And in the Senate race, Uncle John Festerman, former mayor of Braddock, who cast himself as a working class hero. He doesn't look, they talk about this. He cast himself. He dresses like that because he's swine. He's not like making a conscious, he can't make a conscious decision. He's not making a conscious decision to dress like he's impoverished so he can identify with the working class. No, that's what people do when they like put on a flannel and they look really awkward and out of place, and they like roll their sleeves up on the Republican side. They do it on the Democrat side too. They put on like a button-up working shirt like they are the job site superintendent or something, and they roll their sleeves up, and they even contemplate wearing a hard hat because they're so idiotic. And then they walk out and they look all out of it because they've never worked with their hands in their lives. They've never, as we say, the working class folk, never worked a day in their lives. They show up. No, Uncle Festerman dresses dirty and filthy because that is what he is. Because he dresses in a dirty, filthy fashion because that's what he slept in. That's why he's dressed like that. Is projected to defeat. Oh yeah, he's representing the forgotten communities by ensuring that no work will ever come to Braddock again with these green policies from the United Nations. What he should have done, somebody who actually cared about the working class people, he would have lobbied the state for massive money to deal with the drug problem, massive money for police to handle the drug problem and crime, therapy centers and the like for addicts. And he sort of said, we're getting rid of all of the ordinances for businesses in this town. All of them are gone. No paperwork anymore for business in this town. Overnight, businesses would have started showing up. Overnight, businesses doing business elsewhere, because there's not like a lot of money in Braddock, would have moved to Braddock because there's no paperwork there. Because all of the ordinances and everything else has been removed. They would have moved there. No, he made it harder to do business. He's not doing shit for working class people. He looks like that because that's what he slept in. Honestly, he looks like, some Democrats were driving down the road and they threw a grappling hook, like they were out in San Francisco. They were out in one of the many states that have cities now where just the streets are lined with drug abusers and pup tents and the totally impoverished and the cardboard houses. And Democrats just drove down the street and they threw a grappling hook out the window with a rope tied to it, chain attached to it. And that's just what they hooked. And they reeled that in like they were going fishing. And they reeled it in. They were like, hey, whoa, look at you, boy. Well, you're a big boy. You're a big, ugly boy. You want to be a senator? All right, we'll move over. I'm going to look at what you all are saying. Look at the financial gifts. And then I'll just take a quick look at this actual CNN article to legitimize everything that I'm saying here, because we all know that it's got to be, the numbers just keep coming in. Oh, Republicans are going to eke it out. And you know what they're going to have on Fox? They're not going to have me. They're not going to have me. Tucker's not going to have me on even when his studio is on fire. Even when his studio is on fire and he can see anti-whites outside with pitchforks, he won't have me on. No, they're going to have on Newt Gingrich to tell us how this was a moderate victory for the Republican. And now what I think we have to do, now what they have to do is so many in the Republican Party are never Trumpers. And so it doesn't matter that Donald Trump would turn out the biggest vote for the Republican Party ever, and that will ever be. Donald Trump running for president this next election will turn out more voters for the Republican Party than would ever exist in all time. But they don't want Trump. They hate him. Republican Party is never Trumpers. So instead of throwing their weight behind Trump and ensuring that he would win the presidency, they are going to hate on Trump. They're going to say, oh, it should be DeSantis. They're going to oppose him. And then even when it comes down to it, they're not, and it would be really obvious that they are trying to get the Democrat elected. If they were to say, no, about Trump, they're going to drag their feet and do nothing to ensure that Trump loses and therefore white America loses. So what do you think about the Republican Party now? Everyone knows irrespective of Donald Trump and what he represents and who you think he is, this is the most realistic appraisal and the most realistic chances. Nothing else could be predicted at this distance except for the fact that if Donald Trump runs, and he's going to, and the Republican Party throws their weight behind him, it will be the largest vote in Republican history. They are going to oppose it. So I think, honestly, if I'm going to give any advice that may work its way up to the Trump campaign and maybe to DeSantis campaign, is that Trump needs to have DeSantis as his vice president. Trump does one term, and then DeSantis is shoe-in for president should be for the next 2 terms. That's what Trump needs to do. Because if he doesn't somehow win DeSantis over to be the vice president, which is what the Republican establishment really wants, is DeSantis. They don't want Trump because they're never Trumpers. Because they don't want a maverick. They don't want somebody who's even going to give you lip service. They want a typical warm, keep the seat warm Republican. That's all they want. And that's what DeSantis will represent for them. Or that's what he represents for them. I'm not in his head. I'm not having phone calls with him. He's not that smart to call me. That's what they think that's what for them he represents. Who knows what he'll end up doing later. But Trump, if he wants to prevent these people from undermining his campaign, then I think he's going to have to maybe DeSantis or maybe an exciting woman that would undermine the support for DeSantis. But you're still going to see the never Trumpers in there in a big way. Trump running at all because these never Trumpers are absolute. They don't care what happens to the white race. They're not interested in the least bit. That's why we have to force their hand. And if we here who are trying to climb our way up out of this mire, out of this swamp, out of this bog, this quagmire, if we here who are trying to climb our way out so that we can say to these people, mud and blood splattered and gashed and scratched and lacerated from fighting our way up, listen to me, mother, you are going to care about our race or you're going to have lots of problems. If, as we're trying to do that, we're being held down by all these hands that are grabbing us saying, you have to hate Jews, we need to cut those arms off. I'm not going around anymore. I am so sick and tired of these half-wits holding us back from reaching the white race. It is them. It is the name them crowd that is preventing us from reaching the white race. It is the name them crowd why we can't get tens of thousands into the streets. That's why it is that crowd. If we, as a resistance to anti-whiteism, represented love, hope, and redemption for the white race, our people, and for the West as a whole, and for everybody of all immutable characteristics that lives here, white suburbia would be going our way everywhere you looked if we were the resistance, because they would be able to say there is this lie in the media, lie in entertainment about what white people who want to put an end to the victimization looks like. And I've been presented with these new concepts that empower me and empower our people. And I see the actual resistance all around me now, what it actually looks like, that it is love, hope, and redemption, that it doesn't want to harm any other race of humanity. And so I'm going to ally myself to, if we were that resistance, that's what would be happening. But instead, what ends up happening? The worse it gets for white people, the more white people start to look elsewhere about what we can do, the more in the real world they run into murder the Jewish people from so-called white advocates. Sick of this. I am sick and tired of these people. All right, let's see what you all are saying. And I'll take a look at your financial gifts. Question everything over there on Odyssey says with 5 library tokens, I'm from Pennsylvania. You are absolutely right. And these people are brainwashed. Or no, I'm sorry. He says brain dead. Yeah, that's even worse. Thank you for the financial gift of library tokens and for chiming in with support of my position on PA. You know, the crazy thing about PA is you drive up through PA, and if you're from elsewhere around in the world, it's a state that's close to Virginia. So I drive through it. I'm going to be getting out of here in just a minute. So if you have any questions that you would like to financially gift with, do it now. Or if you'd like me to take a look at, otherwise, make sure you tag me or get into the question widget, because I'm going to be going. I got to eat, and then I'm going to get to work for White Wellbeing in some other way than this and the cozy group that we can bring together here. But I've driven up through PA a lot over the years. And the thing about PA that's really interesting is you will see more Confederate flags in Pennsylvania. And this is representative of people who see themselves as country. I'm not talking about the anti-white narratives interpretation of the Confederate flag. These people see themselves as country, law-abiding, tax-paying, hard-working, all of these things that your typical American is supposed to be. Serve in the defense of the country, all of this sort of stuff. Donate to community, charity time to community, etc. But you'll see that up there. But then you'll also see waves and waves and waves of these personal statements right in the lawn of how anti-white, the signs of how anti-white the homeowner is. Unbelievable. This is the religion of anti-whiteism. It is a genuine sickness from hell. All right, let me check Cash App. Thank you all for being here, those who have shown up and who are wonderful people. You're the true champions, and we're the ones who are going to pass through the bottleneck. Obviously, there are a lot of folks out there who are just refuse to hear, and they have hatred in their hearts rather than love, or whatever it is that's guiding them. They're not going to come this way. And we are going to, no matter what ends up happening, as things get worse across the West, we are going to stick together, and we're going to make sure that we are as safe and successful as we can possibly be. Let's get a round of some 07s, some swashbuckler flags, raucous emojis. The swashbuckler flag, if you don't know, is the pirate flag. For Ace. Thank you so much, Ace. $25 financial gift. The only one over there on Cash App. God bless you. I really appreciate that. And she says, we need someone like you in all elected offices. Well, God bless you. That's very sweet of you. Thank you for that. That's a wonderful thing to say, a sentiment to hold, and that is a fine financial gift. 25. Let's do something about these election dollars. God bless you. All right, we'll swivel around and then I'll check out the YouTube chat. I don't think we have anything on D Live to speak to, and it looks like nobody has tagged me otherwise over on Odyssey. So I will jump over here to Entropy, and we have the Great Slots is with us, a true champion, philosopher, and gentleman, financially gifting $3 here. Thank you, brother. Says Jason reprimands more about white well-being and against anti-whiteism than anything else combined. White negatives reprimand more about non-whites than white people. Jason reprimands more about white well-being and against anti-whiteism than anyone else combined. Everybody else combined. White negatives, which are people being white negative, hating on other races, reprimand more about non-whites than white people. God bless you, brother. Another insightful comment from our in-house philosopher, the Great Slots. You can find him on Twitter. Look for him there. And we have the question in the question widget. Eddie Mon 3 wondering about if I know about Orania, and in, I guess that's South Africa, and the fourth revolution, industrial revolution. Well, we'll have to come back and speak on that, the fourth industrial revolution, maybe on a subsequent roll-in or the Going Free this coming Sunday. But I have heard of Orania, and what exactly do you want to know? Oh, opinion of it, I see here. And what is my opinion of it? Well, that's white people fleeing for their lives, and they have decided to live in a place, that's us, fleeing for our lives, and they've decided to live in a place that is inhospitable, in the hope that by being in a place that's inhospitable, anti-whites won't follow. And we heard JF on PWR essentially say the same thing. A different inhospitable environment, the Hyperborean North. And I think these are strategies of white flight, which I'm not saying is necessarily, when it comes to redeployment and finding an area that is better to wage your service and struggle for white well-being from, I think that's a good thing. I think as a teleos saying that we need to all move to inhospitable places is the ultimate sign of weakness and surrender. Ultimate sign of surrender and weakness. It is to say that you have so thoroughly trounced us that we're going to go try to live someplace where it's so wretched you won't follow. The problem with that is that a number of problems. And one of them, not the least of which, is that you need endless help from the outside of your inhospitable environment. But it's that you guarantee that you will have a dysgenic lineage, because the best that are produced in that inhospitable environment will leave. They're not going to want to stay. They're going to be too smart to stay there. They're going to be born into poverty and pain, and they're going to hear about the outside world where there is sexual gratification and wealth and ice cream and etc., and they will leave. And that will result in a just dysgenic lineage. And that is the end of the white race. So again, redeployment, a good thing. So you have to look at these things in their contexts. But as like a final plan, as like a teleos, as a isolationist sort of strategy, not a good thing. I wish the best for those poor folks. The pictures that I've seen, some of them they've made like a nice little place out of their particular spot there, but it is apparent what I've heard, very hard living, and what a sad state to be in. And still, the other thing that breaks my heart about Oranje is that I've had South Africans. You could talk to those people and they are just about as anti-white as the whites living in the cities in South Africa. So just radical anti-whites. How long will that last then? How long could that last for them? You have to address this spiritual, psychological warfare of anti-whiteism. And we've done it. So maybe the people of Oranje will take up the Go Free method as a people. Wouldn't that be something? Thank you very much for the question. All right, let me swivel around here and see if there is anybody else on YouTube that has tagged me. And I'm going to jump off now right after that because I'm going to go eat. See, Melinda is here. The Great Tall Kevin is with us. Ozark, Speed Runner. So many champs. Modern Monarchist is here. Hey, brother. Great to see you. He says that Blake Masters cucked. How did he cuck? Well, I mean, I know how he didn't cuck. He didn't speak out against anti-whiteism, did he? Here you have Ecce Lux giving the total nice enough guy. Nice guy. We've had him on back in the past plenty of times. Nice enough guy. I think maybe brainwashed with this name them strategy. And so he said, pattern recognition does not imply hatred. It implies stupidity. When you pattern recognize for something you cannot control or influence, that is stupid. You need to stop it. There are a lot of patterns in society. A lot of patterns that you can recognize and not be able to do anything about. And if I were to say, what about this pattern or what about that pattern? You would say, oh yeah, that's totally useless to recognize that pattern. Well, why is it useless? Well, because you can't do anything about it. You can't change it. Recognizing that jaywalkers are successful in business and that some of them are successful in business and that some of them work together, whatever percentage you want to say. I'm not saying it's more. I'm not saying it's less. Whatever percentage there is, Recognizing that pattern does what for you? And then you say, well, talking about it's got to be talked about. Okay, what's the remedy to that pattern? It's violence. The remedy to the pattern is violence. It's murdering them. It's stealing all of their things from them. That's the remedy. And every white person is going to see that. Not to mention all of the other problems, all of the other, it's such a fallacy from start to finish that you cannot form an opinion to influence a people's opinion when you do not have a people who have an opinion as a people that you can influence. So stop it. Ye does have a people that he can form an opinion for that can influence that people's opinion. But you do not. The white race is not a people. That's what we have to make out of the concepts that we employ in our defense. And on top of that, you demonstrate that by recognizing this pattern, you have this remedy for it that doesn't do a damn thing for the white race. Not a damn thing. Because if those folks, if you successfully murdered them off, then some other non-white group who will help each other out and will see each other as actual brothers and sisters, they would just move to the top of Western civilization because you have a race of radical individualists when you're talking about the white race. So then what are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to recognize the pattern of this particular other group now. And then what? Maybe get them all murdered off? I don't know why I have to say these things so many times. So sometimes it can be depressing to, I mean, for me, genuinely depressing, because I was incorrectly of the mind that we were mostly composed of honest, sound thinking, good-hearted people that wanted to put an end to our victimization. And what I'm discovering is that we are in the white sympathetic sphere, those kind of people are the minority, and that we're constantly throttled by this majority. Now, you're not even going to say, that's other things I got to do. You're not even going to say, you're not going to write back, Jason, you just explained that perfectly. I have no way to overcome it. And yes, I surrender this idea of pattern recognition when it comes to recognizing those patterns, that context. When it comes to this context, so this is another great example of a corrective that is inappropriately employed. I mean, this is rank midwittery, even uber midwittery. You see, 110 IQ or whatever it is, it's rank to take a corrective from one environment and then incorrectly apply it to another. Pattern recognition. So what you're saying is noticing that during the spring, Japanese beetles show up, and then a bunch of certain types of trees and bushes have their leaves eaten off of them. And that happens every year. That's a pattern recognition. And so you could then say where it's useful, where it's applicable. Pattern recognition, where it's applicable. Like the same as the other corrective of we got to talk about it if we're going to fix it. Because you can then go out and buy these traps for Japanese beetles. You can then go out and buy the spray to keep the Japanese beetles off of your plants. And you won't have to do it all year long and spin through the nose because of the pattern recognition, you know that it's only going to be at one period of the spring that you're going to have to do it. That is where that corrective is useful. Bringing that corrective to this context is stupid. And so you should now say, holy shit, I'm sorry. You're totally right. I now see what you're saying. But you won't. You won't. Fit and Healthy at Any Age says, greetings, folk of the West. That's a great swashbuckler. We have swashbucklers, folks. And I'm going to go from now on with Franklin and Caleb, the GFC of Virginia. We're going to show up places and confront politicians as some of the best awe-inspiring swashbucklers ever. That's what we are. That's our caricature. All right. Let's see what else we have here with the few champions that have gathered around the fire here. We've gathered the timber. We've made a big fire. We've blown the horn into the night's cool air. And these are the champions that have come through the darkness to stand around the fire and decide what really needs to be done. And the thing that needs to be done is we have to deal with these folks that continue to, in our midst, to use the victimization of the white race as an excuse to murder Jewish people, to advocate the murder of Jewish people. I'm just going to say, no more pouring sugar on it for their benefit. They don't get it. Ye did what he did. He was absolutely destroyed as a consequence of it. Lose in the first 2 weeks, over $1.5 billion of net worth. I create Ye's law, and what ends up happening? Whole channels on Gab dedicated to ruining me. All these people showing up with all these negative, calumnious statements. All right, let's see what else is here. Greek American says, Promethean hails from Missouri. Big Promethean hails back to you. All right, make sure you tag me with your statements. Disgruntled Conservative says, I think it is because you say it so many times, like the teacher that threatens punishments that never come. What specifically? Nero Crofta says, I remember years ago you encouraged people to call it anti-white, and now your lexicon has made it into the mainstream. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. I've had too many of these also rans who are just jealous, saying, oh no, it's somebody else. It's somebody else. It didn't happen to somebody else. Thank you for that. Yeah, great to see everybody here. Brad C is here. Great to see you, brother. Real playlist. Appalachia. Repeat exactly. Undignified and more. What is it? What was written about that or before? Victorian time traveler. Anti-whites would follow us to Mars to continue our victimization. You're damn right they would. They're not letting us go anywhere. You know, it's as, you know, for as smart as JF is, he, with that go to the frigid north, that's essentially the same plan as that Gilligan's Island idiot who thought that all we need to do is say to the Canadian government, hey, you don't like us, so just go ahead and give us some of your country on this. What's the island that the big island on the east side of Canada? Obviously, JF's plan would be far more detailed and intelligent than that idiot. But and that idiot had people actually saying, yeah, it's St. Edward Island, I think is what it's called. Prince Edward. No, Saint Edward. What am I talking? Prince Edward. Prince Edward. You keep arguing with namers and it never goes anywhere because everyone that is swayed by, I guess, that argument already conceded. Yes, it's a sad truth. It's a sad truth, my friend, that the white sympathetic sphere is populated by so many people who do not submit themselves to superior reason, logic, and evidence. It is a sad, sad truth. But at the same time, I can't sit here idly and ignore the fact that our efforts to put an end to the victimization of our people is unendingly undermined by these so-called white sympathetics. I mean, that's ultimately what they are. They're not really white sympathetic, are they? That's just an excuse to victimize us or to victimize Jews. To protect us is the excuse to victimize Jews. So we have to hammer it. We have to say, they're not white sympathetic at all. They're not, if you're talking about a problem, I mean, maybe this is the way it has to be formulated. If you're talking about a problem that the way to remedy it is to steal and kill another group of people, you are not white sympathetic. You are just a monster. Maybe that's the way to draw the divide. The real Vincent Griffin has a heart. Thank you so much. All right. Not going to Union of America, not going to talk on capitalism right now. I mean, obviously, how do we define capitalism? What it was supposed to be, what it was at a certain decade, what it currently is, what it could be. Capitalism is an economic structure. I'll just say this, is an economic structure that is antiquated and serving your personal interests and benefiting the whole economically, which really is the selling point of capitalism and the success of what most would define as capitalism, maybe in its purest form, will be reimagined in a new economy that is cyclical by our geniuses when we recapture our destiny. So there won't be they will address our geniuses when we capture our destiny. They will address the shortfalls and the problems of economic systems and incorporate the benefits, the personal benefits for economic systems in a way that buoys the individual, the family, the white family, therefore the white community, therefore the country, and our collective white ring of white roses around planet Earth. Normally I get these questions about capitalism and different forms of government by people who want to try to cleave off folks and who have come to going free and white well-being, and or to prevent people from adopting the go free method and to come to us because they want to go to them and say to one group that, oh, he likes capitalism and you hate it, so don't go over there. And then they want to go, that same person, to another group and say, oh, you like capitalism, he hates it, or so don't go watching. Going around, they'll take whatever it is. He dislikes it, you like it, so don't go there. He likes it, you hate it, so don't go over there. Whatever it is, It's just a means to prevent people from coming to white well-being, keeping them mired in name them in various forms of the name them strategy. It's truly diabolical. It is truly diabolical that you can't stand up to put an end to the victimization of our people. I mean, I feel like I'm between these like two mountains, or between two Mack trucks coming in. On one side, I've got like your average Republican type who is like, you can never stop the victimization of white people because that's immoral. And then on the other side, I have these villains who show up and say, oh no, you can't put an end to the victimization of white people without murdering this whole race of other human beings and stealing everything away from them. It's like these two Mack trucks coming together on top of me. And I keep making argument, and it was one thing when I was making these arguments in private, and I had so many people watching. Sometimes 100 people might be watching at some of these conferences that I got to speak at. But normally it was much fewer. You'd have like 10 at a meeting or what have you, or just a couple of people in present. And you have like this resistance. Now I'm able to make my voice much more widely heard, even through the anti-white censorship. And you still, Mack trucks coming together. Nope, you got to allow the victimization of whites because that's the moral thing to do. In fact, you got to want it, or you've got to murder Jewish people. And don't tell me that naming them is not killing them and stealing everything that they have, whether it's ill-gotten or legitimately gotten, because that's the only remedy to the naming them strategy. I mean, you have Ye trying to say, well, all I want is people to come together and put all the contracts on the table. He knows that is horse shit. That is a remedy of a child. That's a child's suggestion, and he has a child's intellect. So nothing like that is ever going to happen, nor would it remedy anything, because people who are scouts for sports and scouts for entertainment talent are king makers. They can put all their contracts online for everybody to see, and you will have hordes of people. It's like the casting room couch. Those people who go and get on that couch do those sexual favors because they want that fame. They might not like having to have done it, but they do it because they want that fame. And they damn well know that if they don't do it, that someone else will. And they'll have the fame, and they'll have the millions or billions in the case of Kanye West. They'll end up having the fame. Do you really think that Kanye West, when presented, or 10 Kanye Wests presented with, here's your contract, you can become a billionaire and we can steal billions from you while you become a billionaire, or you can go ahead and continue working for $28,000 a year, live in that little shanty. Or you might say, I'm too moral for that. Okay, well, the next Kanye West will take it. He'll write it. He'll sign right on the dotted line. And then you might say, well, that's not right of them to do that, to make contracts like that. And then you might make the idiotic conclusion, come to the idiotic conclusion that, well, they're just evil because of it. You know what? The next group of people, if you got rid of all of them, would do the same thing. They would do the exact same thing. When they get into the position of kingmaker, that's just what's going to happen. You want a different society where that kind of thing is less likely to happen, then you need to put an end to the victimization of Western kind. And the only method that is doing that is the go free method. That sort of thing is going to take place whether you hate the group or not hate the group, and everybody's going to sign on to it. There isn't a single athlete out there that is going to say, well, you know what? I'm happy I worked as a common laborer on the scaffolding, in the elements, in the shit. Nobody cared about me. There were no fans, nobody wanting my autograph, made terrible money, got hurt a bunch of times, had a wife bitching at me all the time, kids that hate me. I'm so happy I chose that life rather than playing for the New York Giants. Because if I had played for the New York Giants and had all the millions and the the $1 million cars and the $1 million houses and the $1 million whores, if I had done that, then I would have been wronged on the contract. Fuck off. If you can't figure this stuff out on your own, then you need to realize that there is somebody that can figure it out. I'm sitting right here. There are champs in this community that can figure it out. Swashbucklers, philosophers, thinkers of various types, people who are trained in numerous fields, very smart folks. That's why they're here. We'll end on this. And I'm so grateful. I gotta say, I'm so grateful for this. And that is from our dear Mrs. Jess Horst. Who has financially gifted. Please get out your pirate flags, your swashbuckler flags, your 07s, your raucous emojis. This is wonderful when folks show appreciation. Thank you all for the appreciation of my efforts. And I beam that back in your direction. Thank you so much for your efforts for white well-being and what's happening to our once glorious race. The great Mrs. Jess Horst writes here with her financial gift. Over 6 years ago, I started going free, and anything I could scrape up to support you, supporting our folks, my children, all our future lineage, I did. So thank you for all you do, sir. And she gave 3 little red heart emojis, that wonderful, peerless testimonial, and little red heart emojis with a financial gift of $200. God bless you, sister. God bless you all. I love you all. We'll be back soon. Roll out.